Hello guys, how are you? An amazing new year, right? Should I say Happy New Year once again? Well, welcome, or should it be welcome to my YouTube channel, as is the habit of most. Anyway, I am humbled to be here once again, and I thank both God and you guys. God for His grace, health and sufficiency, and you guys for your undeserved support. You guys are amazing, and I am totally humbled for the 1,178 subscribers when this was shot. So this finds me or catches up with me in traffic, and as always, as I said, every sketch can be made anywhere, and mine are the sketches of life. So every little bit of life and every aspect of it really matters. So I remember leaving you guys hanging in a story called The Death of a Hunter. And as I'm caught up in traffic, do I find another amazing piece? Because as always, I am a pluviophile, and that means that any trickle of rain, any call of the heavens will always catch my attention. So as the heavy clouds form up in the skies, do I find myself with a sketch that takes me right down to my roots, because The Death of a Hunter is basically about my roots and your roots, and what we have become at the end of the day, deserting our own roots and getting lost in the wake that is life. So I hope that you'll allow me to read the introduction of this story for you, and then as always will I disappear behind the covers and let the story roll on itself. So here we go. And I call this The Call of the Wild. So welcome. A break into the second week of January dawns upon me, as with it, the dark heavens relent, pouring down upon the previously thirsty earth beneath. Quite a spectacle, as the heavy downpour floods both the streets and poorly drained sidewalks. At this point, even the suburb roads aren't spared either. Beauty to this daring moment is that it falls on the weekend, and as such, most persons are held in mall cafes with others cozied up behind closed doors. Yet, this show strips me of the joy of helter-skelter run across both the streets and roadways by a people who fear the rains more than oncoming traffic itself. This is Nairobi, and with it, these are city boys' escapades. I have never to this day known where exactly the joy of watching rain pour heavily upon this beautiful land comes from. For me, it has never really mattered where it finds me, be it the buzzing city or even the quiet countryside. I know most people claim that the rains have no business flooding the cities, but question is, don't you know that the cities themselves were a wild countryside before you invaded and even ripped it of all its naked wildness? Before I hand steal the very words from underneath your tongues and gaping mouths, allow me to say, blessed days and pleasant nights. Welcome. Now welcome to the onset of another year, and as the streets fill up with persons returning from their roots, does the true nature of our call become revealed. Now welcome to the little delights left behind, yet with the beaten third of the complexities of life, do we find ourselves scouring back to refill that same mundane desire. Now welcome to your story, welcome to my story, and welcome to our story. Now with the heavy thud of the rain upon the windscreen, as the driver struggles to find his way through foggy roads, a series of car hoots do irritate him to calmness as the hazard lights play company the rest of the drive. The flooded roads and sidewalks suddenly slow his initial unwarranted, or maybe warranted, rush there before. Using a soft fluffy piece of napkin, does he struggle to clear the now fogged up windscreen, an act that leads him to click and wonder why these rains fell today. The lady seated between us, seeing his frustrations, picks up the napkin and assists him instead. He is relieved and says in Swahili, "Asante sana madam, haki si hizi mvua zingenyesha tugeshagi." To mean, "Thank you very much madam. I wish these downpours would stick to the countryside." A smile creases out my lips as deep down I know that whatever his outbursts are, only the Almighty has the final say in all matters, and by it man's call, I think we would end up lacking even drinking water, as even our famous Nairobi River, let alone Dakaini Dam, would all but run dry. As the rains pour on beautifully, my gaze is drawn to the misty window as I place circles upon its glass. I can feel the smell of the earth beneath, not physically though, but deep within my soul, as the tarmac, traffic, and air pollution has all but rid me of all these luxuries as at now. The fading traffic lights with increasing fog draws my mind with it into the distant past and back to the countryside. Call it an actual call of the wild as I return back to Grandma's fireside stories. The same stories that always spoke of this big city that I always wanted to be a part of, with its many cars that lit up the night like a long shiny snake, and at other times, watching from the distant hills, that is, a lake of stars gliding upon the ground, almost like a vivid representation of the Milky Way upon the ground. Listening to Grandma tell these tales always lit our eyes up, with Robert seated across the fireplace, all but keen, with his chin hard pressed onto his bended knees. The image of the big city always came alive right here beside this crackling fireplace. Well, more to note were the captivating tales of the late Robert Ouko, now I'm sure long forgotten in our fickle memories, and the fact that his tombstone lay not more than 6 miles away from where we then lived. It all seemed vivid and real. So even as these tales of Tomboya and Robert Ouko, all late, played on Grandma's tongue, and with the fact that their dreams came alive in these streets, nothing was sure going to kill this burning desire within me of visiting that huge renowned city. In my heart, I knew that if any memories of me were to be remembered or even accounted for, then that city had the very ingredients to take this down into the archive books. I am caught up in between dips to and from the countryside by Grandma's fireside, even as the rain pours on with no sense of stopping. Traffic has by now built up as we approach the suburbs of the city. A totally crowded downtown area this is, one whose tales I still recall as the pinnacle of growth and success itself, yet with the multiple high-rise residences now rivaling Karura Forest itself. I feel like the lie crept into my narration from Grandma rather than the truth of affluence itself. For a moment, I wonder if this is the bargain I initially had, to lose my free-flowing air in beautiful all sounds alongside cricket chirps right outside the small 3-stone kitchen room. Or better yet, if the long streams of traffic came in handy to replace my weekend dives down the free-flowing river at the bottom of the hill back in the countryside. You would so easily fault me, my dear trader, with this remark, yet be reminded still of my initial commuter truck driver's complaints as he drove us home. No, it wasn't the rain that bothered him much, nor even the fog and mist that came with it. No, not at all. His complaints instead marked the frustration of a continuous pursuit for much in a city that showed no loyalty to whatever efforts one put into place. Yet, each day remained a grind in a rocky farm. But maybe, just maybe, if we all stopped wanting to be accepted and started putting our efforts in growing our persons within, only then with the dynamics shift. But how so? When hand to mouth seems like the way of life, even to those seemingly looking quite high-flying. Now, to curb this desire for freedom and relaxation, in a crowded city, there have persons chosen to drift outwards, looking for free air in quiet, serene environments to the extent of Kiambu, Lavington, or even Karen. Yet, the result plays the same, as with more encroachment have the residentials chosen to compete to the forest treetops themselves. In all this, one thing remains clear, for as I reflect on most people's retreats to the village every time the year comes to a close, it all dawns upon me that as much as the tales of the city remained appealing, we all desire the freedom and freshness the village pours upon us and the creativity that came with it. It is years after, rove shifting from one quarter to the next of these beautiful cities under the sun, and as I sit here, staring into the expanse beyond, watching the mist beautifully build up against the forest trees far ahead, it all makes sense as nostalgia plays the best of me. Now I say it. Now I understand that just like the hunter, so engrossed in chasing the bird soaring above the trees, and in this race with his eyes above, does he lose his footing and trips, losing both the bird above and scaring all the prey initially around him on the ground. Reflecting even deeper, does the truth of the rain plays with my senses and flirtations of both the earth scent and mist calls in the distant forest make sense? It is a call to my core, more of a call of the wild. So with this at heart, does my person look for cricket sounds late at night, soft raindrops against the window panes, and early morning bird chirps, and maybe, if possible, both the bleating of sheep and more of cattle, even if it is a mile's drive out of the city. Maybe I am still trying to find the hunter within, and if possible, save him from his imminent death to the purpose of which he was called to. So, till I find him within, will I heed to this call of the wild within me. Yet, until the next time, my dear trader, and hoping that you traded and enjoyed these sketches of the call of the wild, please stay blessed and stay safe. It's your sincere sketcher, PePa, the Sketches of Life.